And we're in. Boys, welcome to the channel. Today I have got a juicy video for you. I'm gonna teach you how to get a six pack. And if I can do this video in under 10 minutes, I'm gonna title the video, Learn How to Get a Six Pack in Under 10 Minutes, which is somewhat clickbaity, but I can absolutely guarantee you, if you implement all of the stuff that I'm gonna teach you in hopefully the next 9 minutes and 30 seconds, you will be able to get a six pack. But before we get into it, I want to qualify myself. So here is a picture of me with a six pack to prove to you that I'm able to do what I'm about to tell you. I have practiced what I am preaching. But not only that, you should know that I'm an online personal trainer and a fully qualified nutritionist, and I coach guys to do this all the time, okay? Right, we don't have much time, so let's get stuck straight into it, okay? Grab yourselves a pen, grab yourselves a pad, make some notes, let's go. So, first things first, I should say that you'll probably have heard pieces of these, like snippets of these pieces of advice in isolation before. What the probable missing piece of the jigsaw for you is that you've not combined all of these pieces of advice and then done them for long enough to see the result, okay? So don't roll your eyes, don't click away from the video just because you've heard one before and thought, oh, that doesn't work, or oh, that's not true, or I'm special, or I'm different, because you're not, okay? So, first and foremost, most important thing to say is some good news. You already have abs, you just can't see them. Now that is a combination of two things, not just one, it's two things. First and foremost, it's because you've got too much fat around your belly to be able to see your abs. And secondly, it's probably because they're not well formed enough so that even if we were to strip back that fat, they wouldn't necessarily be like popping. The abs would be there because we've all got them, but they just wouldn't be popping. So we want to focus on a couple of things. We want to focus on losing the belly fat, and we then want to focus on building up the abdominal muscles. And I'm going to cover both in this video, okay? So first things first, losing the belly fat, because that's probably the hardest, and it's also probably the most important, because we can strip that off and you can see your abs, okay? So how do we do that? Well, very straightforward, guys. We need to create what we call a caloric deficit, okay? So every single one of us has what we call a maintenance calorie number. This is the number of calories that if you were to consume that number of calories every single day, you would just stay the same, okay? That's why it's called our maintenance calorie number, because we're just maintaining at that level. That number is different for everybody. It's based on 4 physiological factors: your age, your weight, your height, and your sex. And then what makes it unique is your lifestyle, how active you are, what you do, but not just in terms of exercise, in terms of how fidgety you are. You see, you watching me doing this video and I'm moving around, I'm moving my head, I'm swiveling, I'm pivoting, my knees going a little bit. All of these things, they're micro movements, but they all burn calories. How fast I'm talking, I'm using my brain to come up with ideas and communicate with you guys. All of these things burn calories, okay? Breathing, your internal organs, all of this stuff, pumping blood around your body, all of this stuff burns calories, okay? So a very simple equation we can use to come up with your maintenance calorie number, it's a bit rough and ready, but it'll give you a good enough start point, is to take your body weight in pounds, not in kilos, in pounds, and multiply that by 15, okay? There are more complicated formulas, equations, whatever you want to call it, but to start with, let's just get you set up on that one, okay? And then what you want to do is you want to basically consume fewer calories than that. And the more, the fewer calories you consume than that maintenance, so the bigger the deficit that you create, hence the calorie deficit, the greater and the faster the fat loss. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, okay, well, I'll just eat like a rabbit. Like, you don't want to be doing that. Like, an absolute maximum, you want to be in a 750 calorie deficit. So let's say you did that calculation, you took your body weight in pounds, you multiplied by 15, and your maintenance calories came out at 3,000, let's say, okay? If you minus 750, your recommended calories would be 2,250. You would be losing about 1.5 pounds of body fat per week using that number, okay? Because if you were to sustain a 500 calorie deficit for 1 week, you would lose 1 pound of body fat. How can I say that? Well, I can say that because there are 3,500 calories in 1 pound of body fat. And if you take 500 and multiply it by 7, that's 3,500. So that 500 calorie deficit per day is going to add up to 1 pound of body fat lost per week. So a lot of people like to use the 500 deficit number because it's nice and round. If you've got the motivation to go harder and you've got that body fat to lose, go all in and go to 750 and you will see faster results. But just beware that you will also feel the sort of the opposite response to that, in the sense your brain will fight back harder. It will make it harder for you. It will make you feel a bit rubbish, okay? I can't swear on my YouTube channel because they get really arsy about that. Oh. Just hopefully they didn't pick that one up, but you know what I mean. Okay, so we've talked about calorie deficit. That is super important. How do we actually create that calorie deficit, guys? Okay, so like I say, first and foremost, you need to know what your recommended calorie number is. You do that by calculating your maintenance and then subtracting whatever deficit you can sustain, okay? Could be 250, could be 500, could be 750. It can fluctuate. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to stick to one deficit number. As long as you are eating and consuming fewer calories than your maintenance calorie number, you will lose body fat, okay? And then the second trick to the calorie deficit is just the consistency and the patience and the discipline. That's the hard part. Everyone thinks, oh, it's just calories in, calories out. Yeah, it is mathematically, scientifically, on paper. That's the theoretical of it. The practicality of it is a lot more, well, real, and it's harder because life gets in the way, okay? You have stressful days, you have temptation, you have nights out, you have meals, you have all these other meals out, you have all these other things, right, okay? So the patience, the discipline, the consistency is the hard part, but that is the important part, okay? Woo, we're going quick. Okay, so how are we gonna do this? Well, first of all, you wanna be consuming a high protein diet. There's a couple of reasons for this. Protein is the most metabolic of the macronutrients. So it's the most, as you eat it, basically, it effectively like burns the most calories by you consuming it. So for example, if I was to eat 20 grams of protein, there are 4 calories for every 1 gram of protein. So that would be 80 calories of protein, okay? So 20 grams is 80 calories of protein, and probably about 15% of that would be burnt by just me digesting that protein, okay? So there's a metabolic advantage to a high protein diet, but also you'll find that protein fills you up. It's very what we call satiating. I mean, a good example of this is try and eat like 3 or 4 plain chicken breasts in a row. Like you're just gonna feel full, okay? But second to that, you also wanna make sure that you've got a voluminous diet. So a nutrient-dense, calorie-light diet. So things like vegetables are fantastic for this, okay? Because they're fibrous, so your body can't break them down, which means they sit in your stomach, literally like a ball. And if your stomach is quite literally full, you can't put more in it. It's gonna, your body is gonna tell you to stop eating, basically, okay? So high protein and a high volume diet, and like lots of vegetables as well. Secondly, you also want to increase what we call your NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's basically a very fancy way of saying walking, because it's basically any movement you're doing that isn't exercise, but it isn't like essential bodily function, okay? Like organ function or pumping blood around the body or breathing or blinking or something like that, like involuntary acts that happen all the time, basically 24/7 in your body, okay? And most of that is just being a bit more active. So it's making conscious choices. It's consciously going outside for a walk. It's taking the stairs instead of the elevator. It's cleaning your own house. It's walking to the gym rather than driving. It's all of these little micro movements that add up over time to make a huge difference, okay? So that's gonna help you you're already gonna eat less because you're creating that calorie deficit, and then at the same time, that's gonna help you to move more, okay? So that's your diet side of things, okay? So I've really simplified that down. I'm not gonna get this in under 10 minutes. Damn it, I can't go for the title, but never mind, we'll come up with another title. But that's the diet side of things, okay? So don't overcomplicate this. Don't get shiny object syndrome. Don't think you've got to go keto, then vegan, then carnivore, then paleo, then Atkins, or whatever, millions of other sort of diets there are. All that matters is the principle of you being in a calorie deficit, okay, guys? That really is all that matters. Like I say, it's very simple, but it's not easy, because the hard part is the consistency, it's the discipline, and above all, it's the patience, okay? But I promise you, if you stick to this, you will lose the body fat and your abs will eventually come through. But then what we want to do is we want to make those abs pop, okay? Pop. That's a cool word. So I'm so easily entertained. So that's where we want to do some exercise, guys. Now, a lot of people think, oh, okay, well, I want to see my abs, I want to get abs, so I'm going to do loads of ab exercises. And they think, and I understand why, because I used to be the same, by the way. I used to believe all of this stuff, that if you do, ab workouts, or if you do loads of crunches, then you're going to spot reduce the fat on your belly. You're gonna target that belly fat and you're gonna specifically lose fat on your belly and it's gonna stay everywhere else. And unfortunately, that just isn't true. You can do all the crunches in the world, nothing is going to change. The belly fat will come off when it is good and ready. And unfortunately, for the vast majority of men, me included, and I've done another video on this, stubborn belly fat is called stubborn belly fat for a reason. It is the last place to go off of most men, guys, okay? But again, this is where all those things I just talked about with the calorie deficit are so important. That patience, that discipline, that consistency, all of those things, and if you stick to them, it will add up and you will lose that belly fat. And if you want, go and watch that video. It's on my channel. It's like not far down. You'll be able to find it pretty easily. How to lose or why losing stubborn belly fat is so difficult, I think it's called. But this is what I want you to do training wise to make sure that you are going to get those abs, and when you get them, they're going to pop and it's going to form like a proper six pack, okay? So what I don't want you to do is actually focus on the ab exercises, because they're very they don't burn that many calories, they don't use that many muscles, they just really target those abs. There's going to be a time and a place for those. But what I really want you to focus on is the compound movements, guys, okay? So compound movements are multi-joint, multi-muscle exercises that use the biggest muscles in the body, and as a result of that, they burn the most calories. But what you also get as a benefit of doing compound movements and using these big muscle groups is that you get to work your core strength. So what are compound movements? Well, you can very quickly and easily Google or ChatGPT this, but I'll reel a couple off for you, okay? So you've got push-ups, you've got push-ups, press-ups, you've got pull-ups, you've got chin-ups, you've got bent over rows, you've got overhead presses, you've got bench press, you've got, what else have we got? Squats, you've got deadlifts, you've got leg press. Any of these things are using multiple muscles, multiple joints. And I know what you're thinking, like, how can the leg press help me get abs? Trust me when I say this, your biggest muscles in your body are all in your legs, your glutes, your hamstrings, and particularly your quadriceps, okay? If you're using these, if you're pushing like heavy weight on a leg press, you are also using a lot of core strength, like absolutely promise you. If you've got like not crazy heavy weight on the bar, but like are doing a leg press, just put one hand on your belly, on your sort of stomach, and see how much tension it's under when you're doing the leg press, and you'll see what I mean, okay? So you really want to focus on the compound movements. Now, like I say, the ab workouts will not speed up the fat loss on the belly. I can understand the logic, but it doesn't work like that. But what I would encourage you to do, as well as your compound movements in the gym, guys, is to do 10 minutes, just 10 minutes of ab work at the end of 3 of your workouts. And I really wouldn't overcomplicate this. I would get very good at a couple of movements. So ideally, if you can, I would do something that is weighted. So what someone can do in every single gym literally in the world is cable crunches, where you put them behind your head, you're kneeling down. I'm sure you know what cable crunches are. Again, if you don't, guys, just Google it. You'll figure out in like 3 seconds. Just on your knees, and you're just going down and you're crunching. And you're using weight, so it's actually going to strengthen the abdominals, okay? And you can really control the negatives when you're coming back up. Don't like swing like this, like really control the negative when you come back up, okay? And obviously crunch down and really, really contract those abs on the way down. If you can't, like for whatever reason, I mean, you'll be able to do cable crunches, but if you want to do other stuff, I would strongly recommend you invest in what we call like an ab wheel. Now these are tough. But if you get good at them, and you're just gonna have to practice, they are gonna carve out abs like you can't even imagine, okay? So like I say, I would keep this really simple. I would literally just do like 2 or 3 exercises and I would get very good at them. Those would be my top 2 in the gym. If you were doing them at home, if for whatever reason you aren't training in the gym or you just wanna do added reps, I would do 2 others. I would do leg raises, where you're literally just lying flat on the floor and raising your legs up, and this is gonna work more of the lower abs. And I would do mountain climbers, okay, guys? Again, just Google it, you'll see what I mean. But if you do those 4 things, so you've got your cable crunches, you've got your ab wheel, you've got your mountain climbers, and you've got your leg raises, trust me when I say this, those 4 exercises, in conjunction with doing your compound movements regularly, in conjunction with a consistent, sustained calorie deficit, you will get an absolutely banging six-pack. And I should say at this point, I probably should have said it at the beginning, that by the way, if you get a six-pack, recognize just how much of an achievement that is, because only 2% of Americans actually have a six-pack, guys. So if you can, and like 7% are millionaires. So it's kind of bonkers, the ratio there. Like, it is harder to get a six pack than it is to become a millionaire. So if you can do that, you can do almost anything else. So go into this with some confidence that yes, it's hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say it's easy, but it is simple. But you have to have belief in the process. You have to be consistent. You have to be disciplined, and you have to be very patient. Okay, guys? So what are we up to? 15 minutes. I'm well over my 10 minutes. Hopefully that was useful, guys. I'm going to leave this video here. I think that's pretty much everything you need to know. But if you've got any more questions, drop me a comment. I'm more than happy to help with you guys, okay? And yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.